I brushed my teeth and made my way upstairs to my bedroom. Throwing back the covers and taking off my jeans and shirt, I crawled into bed. After an hour of scrolling through what seemed to be an endless stream of social media, the light from my phone became too much to bear, and I closed my eyes and went to sleep. I was awoken to the sound of constant and rhythmic tapping. I turned my head to the small bedside table on the right-hand side of my bed. 2:06 flashed across the face of the electronic clock. I assumed it must have been my neighbors. One con of living in a townhouse is that the person living next to you even breathes. You can bet that you'll hear the sound of their lungs as they expand and contract. I waited a few moments, hoping that whatever they were doing would stop. When the sound did not cease, I gave my own tap on the wall. With 3 knocks of my knuckles to the wall that ran parallel to the left-hand side of my bed, immediately the tapping stopped. But my short rest was once again interrupted at 4:18. Too late to go back to sleep, but still too early to function properly. I decided to lay in bed for a few minutes after pounding the wall again. Only this time the sound continued. It was only as I got off my bed and stood on my own 2 feet that the sound disappeared. I stumbled across the room and approached my closet. But before I could slide open my closet door, I realized that last night I had forgot to bring up any clean laundry. I went to the basement to get a pair of trousers and a button-up shirt. The only thought I had in the shower was that maybe I could try to sleep a few hours at my desk while I was at work. Sadly, a hot shower could only temporarily mask my fatigue, and I went to work feeling worse than usual. A mediocre office job stuck in a cubicle, but it puts food on the table, and there's no shame in that. I woke up when Ted's hand grabbed my shoulder and told me, "Hey, Sleeping Beauty, it's time to wake up. You want to come with us to the new Vietnamese place around the corner?" "Sure," I replied. "Let me just grab my jacket." We sat down at the bistro. The food was alright, nothing special, but Ted and the others really weren't interested in the food. The question on all their minds was why I looked like I had been in a bar fight with a 40-year-old Irishman. The lack of sleep left me with bags under my eyes, almost the same color as the red cabbage coleslaw I ordered. I explained to them about the tapping sound. The way it sounded like the beat of a song. Always in the same rhythmic order. 1 tap, a short pause, and 3 taps in quick succession. I could hardly sleep, I told them. "Do you still have that leaky skylight window in your room?" asked Marika. "Yeah," I answered. But how would that explain the pounding on the wall being the solution to the problem the first time? We sat silent for a moment, everyone thinking about the number of possibilities which could be causing the sound and the source of my unrest. "It could be some kind of bird," said Ted. I was quick to reply, "I don't own any birds." Ted stared at me like I had just given a pair of gloves to a double amputee. "I know you don't have any pet birds, but it could be one outside the window tapping on the glass. I heard sometimes birds, to attract mates, will try to make as much noise as possible. Maybe it figured tapping on the glass of your window was the way to make the most noise. If that was your best chance of getting laid, wouldn't you do the same?" I was enraged at the thought of it. That I had been kept awake because some avian prostitute took up a nest on the outside of my window, and its inciting flamenco that it was performing was the reason of my lack of sleep. I was not about to be outwitted by a tiny creature who couldn't get his rocks off. Our break ended, and the rest of the workday went by relatively quickly. The only thing that occupied my mind for the rest of the day was getting home and ridding myself of that avian atrocity. I drove speedily home and pulled into the shared driveway and retrieved the key to my front door. I planned on wasting not a single second but I was stopped when I found a piece of paper folded in half and taped to my front door. It read, "Dear Cunt, thank you for banging the wall not just once, but twice last night. I really enjoyed being woke up, as did my crying 2-year-old daughter. If you have any problems, feel free to come next door and maybe throw around some pots and pans. With love, your neighbors, Susie and Troy." I felt a tad sorry, knowing that the bird was a potential cause of my problems and not my neighbors. But you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Besides, I never liked either Susie or Troy anyway. I threw open the front door and grabbed the dustpan from my kitchen. Striding up the steps in record time, I entered my room with weapons of war in hand. The window was my final obstacle, and with the jiggle of the lock, the window went up, throwing dust into the room along with a rush of stagnant air. I coughed, but it seemed as if Ted was right. On the window ledge was the nest of what looked like a very disturbed bachelor bird. I didn't feel right smashing his home, so I grabbed a pair of rubber gloves from the kitchen and returned to my windowsill roommate. I found an old shoebox to place him in for the time being, and when I picked him up, a flash of blue sprung from beneath him, or what I now presume to be a her. Underneath my feathered friend were 3 small turquoise-colored eggs. I handled the nest with as much care as I could. I took the shoebox into my backyard and placed the nest on the ledge of the windowsill which overlooked my garden, far away from where I slept. She seemed to be happy in her new home, and then so was I. Satisfied with my small victory, I decided to catch up on the rest that I so dearly missed. As soon as my head hit the pillow, my eyes were closed and I found myself falling into a deep sleep. I dreamt I was in the Latin club, dancing with a beautiful Spanish woman. She whirled around the dance floor, tapping her feet. Tapping the same fucking rhythm. She stomped her right foot down. And a short pause, followed by then, like clockwork, stomped her right foot, left foot, right foot. I woke up, and the sound had infiltrated my mind while I rested. I ran over to the window and threw it open to find that the bird had not returned. It wasn't the bird. It wasn't Susie or Troy. Was it in my head? Could it be a mouse in the wall? I stood still in my room, wearing only my boxers, listening for that god-forsaken noise. I crept across the room as the sound became louder and louder. It was my mirror. The closet in my room had sliding doors, both fitted with mirror fronts. The glass vibrated with every pulse. I placed my ear to the glass, and it sounded like listening to the heartbeat of a caged animal, frantically pumping. I could feel my stomach drop, although it was too late. When the door of my closet began to slide open, it was then I realized that the tapping had not come from my mirror, but behind it, from behind the closet door.